Hi, I'm Wally Moyer. I'm a tax accountant, and I'm going to ask you the question today is if you are a professional gambler. We're going to discuss the tax implication on gambling. Please note that the information I'm giving you today is for information only. You need to always check with your own personal tax people, financial planners, professional brokers. So you have to ask yourself, what type of gambler are you? Are you a casual, amateur, recreational gambler? We're going to look at what tax documents you'll receive, what is taxable income, and what deductions can you take. As a professional gambler, we're going to discuss about what the definition of a professional gambler is. What are the requirements? What's the taxable income, and what deductions you can take as a professional gambler. So an amateur, casual, recreational gambler is someone who goes to Atlantic City for the weekend, goes on a cruise, and gambles. It's not a way of making a living. It's not something they do on a regular basis. And a lot of it is based on your facts and circumstances. So you're combining gambling with a night out for dinner, recreation, drinks, but you're not looking to make a living out of this, your night out. A professional gambler is someone who's self-employed, and they're going out gambling as a trading business. They do it on a regular basis. The activity is in pursuit to make money, to make a livelihood. It's more than a hobby. Now, the burden of proof of whether you're involved in professional gambling or a casual recreation gambler is on the gambler to prove the status. Now, if you want to learn more about being a professional gambler, Dice Deegan on YouTube has his own YouTube about what a professional gambler does and how they can operate. I'm going to talk to you about the tax implications, tax savings of a gambler, professional. So professional gambler, there was a court case established that these are the 9-factor tests the Internal Revenue Service came up with. You're making a profit. This is more than a hobby. When you're a casual gambler, you're reporting your income and expenses as if you're a hobby. Here, we're going to report our income and expenses as if we're a business, if we're a professional gambler. So these are the 9 tests that the IRS says. You have expertise advice yourself on gambling, and you also look for advisors. You may take courses. You may go to Las Vegas and spend time with other gamblers discussing the business of gambling. You put time and effort in to carry on this activity. You record your time that you're gambling. You have, as if in any other business, there's a paper trail. You have the expectation that you may appreciate the assets you have in value. For the most part, the asset you may have is your money. You may buy a craps table or a blackjack table or cars to practice this. These are all expenses. Have you been successful in carrying out this or other similar or dissimilar activities? So you have to have a history of income and a history of losses with respect to the activity. You are expected to make a profit in any business. Is this really a profitable business? Are you a good gambler? The financial status of the taxpayer. So if you're making $100,000 of W-2 income at your normal job, and you're making $5,000 in gambling, you're not a professional gambler. the elements of personal pleasure or recreation. So the IRS says, hey, this has to be more than just personal pleasure and recreation. You can't just be going on cruises. You have to be doing this outside of cruises. So the tax form that you're going to receive is you're going to receive a W-2G that says that, hey, this is from gambling winnings. There's limitations on that. If you have to win more than $600 in a horse race, $1,200 or more in bingo or a slot machine before you get issued a W-2G. So if you hit a slot machine for $1,000, you're not going to be issued a tax statement. $1,500 for a keno, $5,000 more in a poker tournament. So if you're sitting around in a casino and playing poker, winning $5,000, you will not receive a W-2G. But if you're in a poker tournament, you will receive a W-2G. So what a tax form does is it alerts the Internal Revenue Service, hey, this person has won this amount of money. You will not receive a tax document from table games. If you're playing craps and you win $3,000, you are not going to receive a tax form. The Internal Revenue Service is not being notified, hey, you played roulette and won money, blackjack, baccarat. These kinds of table games, Spanish 21, do not report W-2Gs to the Internal Revenue Service. The casino is not required. So as a casual gambler, you're going to report that income on a W-2G, and the law says that you have to report all income. The law says Internal Revenue Service income, whether it's illegal or legal, is reportable. Like Al Capone got arrested for not reporting all of his income. It was not on making illegal liquor, selling illegal liquor. So you always want to, for the Internal Revenue Service, the law is that you have to report all income. So as a casual gambler, so if you win $200 here, $100 there, if you're playing slots, you report all of your winnings, including money that is reported on a W-2G on line 21 of your 1040. Your losses can be deducted up to your winnings. So if you have losses of $10,000 and you only have winnings of $2,000, you can only deduct losses of $2,000. So you have to report any fair market value of gifts, trips, or other incentives. You cannot carry back or forward losses. So in one year, if you had larger losses than the next year, you can't carry them back or forth. And you can't offset. If in 2021 you won a lot of money, you could only deduct the losses for 2021. If for 20, you cannot carry that back, that gain back in 2020 when you lost $10,000. So this is for a casual and recreational gambler. This is how they would report their income and expenses and losses. You don't get to deduct expenses as a casual gambler. You only get to deduct your losses from the casino betting. As a professional gambler, you can deduct expenses. You can deduct your mileage to and from the casino. You can deduct meals if you take another gambler out to dinner. If you take a class, all of these things are reported on a Schedule C. So all your income from gambling is reported as gross income. Your expenses then reduces your gross income, and that becomes your taxable income, your income less your expenses. It's your net income. The problem with this is that net income is subject to self-employment tax. Self-employment tax is 15%. So your net income is now taxed at self-employment tax, as well as income tax, which is at your normal tax rate. So as a professional gambler, you have to make a profit. You regularly pursue gambling. Effectively, it's your job. It's your business. So you can deduct expenses as a cost of doing business: magazines, periodicals, mileage, internet, if you do online wagering, meals, travel, entrance fees to poker tournaments. All of these can be deducted. Now, the IRS used to say, and the other law in 1987, the court ruled that you could only deduct expenses up to your winnings. So your net income could only ever be zero or positive. You could never have a net loss if your profession was to be a gambler on your Schedule C. In 2011, they came back and the court then said, hey, wait, you can deduct losses. If it's ordinary and necessary expenses of doing business that you incurred in connection with this business of gambling, you can deduct them even if the expenses were greater than your income. And you can also deduct the loss of gambling, so whatever money you put out. And if the loss on your Schedule C is greater, you can then deduct that loss against other income. If you have a part-time job and you have W-2 income, or you're married and you file jointly, the loss of that business can be deducted on your 1040 and can offset other income that you have received in that year. So we talked about a lot of things here. You can find me at thebottomline.net online. Remember, always consult with your own accountant, tax advisor for your own personal situation. You can set up an appointment with me. I do half-hour appointments. They're $75 for any tax advice. Don't take advice from the guy next to you at the craps table or your blackjack dealer. I was once playing blackjack and heard the blackjack dealer giving tax advice. I was quiet, did not give him my advice back. But you always want to make sure who to contact your own financial people, have people in your corner. If you're actually going into business, you want to be in business. And again, this is my disclaimer, this is not financial advice. Good luck, and I hope to see you at the craps table.